Hi, I'm Caleb Giddings from Gun Nuts Media, and as you can see, we have a new addition to the videos. We have a microphone. Anyway, enough with that. Today's video, we're doing the opposite of a video that I did in the past, and there's a link to it in the description. It's the 5 worst firearms trainers or 5 firearms trainers to avoid. That video obviously generated a ton of response and a lot of people actually really enjoyed it, but I wanted to put a little positivity back into the world and give you 5 trainers that I strongly recommend. Here we go. Now, I don't want you to think that a trainer being a higher number or a lower number than another means that I think they're better or worse than anyone else on the list. What I'm going to try to do with this video is recommend 5 different trainers or schools across 5 sort of slightly different specialties. You'll have general interest, competition specific, that sort of thing. So we'll start with number 5, and that's general interest. If you want to go to a school, a place to learn how to shoot that covers the gamut of handgun, rifle, and even some other skills, and has a great program for moving you through from general defensive handgun to intensive handgun, etc., I strongly recommend Insight's Training Center, located in the Seattle, Washington area. I've had the opportunity to take 4 classes from Insight's Training Center, and they've all been excellent classes. I've taken their general defensive handgun, their intensive handgun skills, as well as a couple of defensive folding knife classes, and again, they've all been excellent classes. The owner of Insight's Training Center is a former Army Ranger, and many of his staff are also a tremendous amount of either special operations experience or just good teaching experience. So if you're looking for a school and you want one shop stopping for firearms and self-defense instruction, check out Insight's Training Center. Number 4 on the list is a specific interest class. It's not a shooting class, and while you may learn something new about shooting from the class, that's not what it's set up to do. However, if you carry a gun for personal protection outside of the home or inside the home, and you have a family, whether it's a wife or a husband or children or nieces and nephews that you hang out with or care for, I strongly encourage that you take Citizen Defense Research's The Armed Parent/Guardian class. I took this class from Citizens Defense Research a couple of years ago, and for me, at my skill level as a shooter, I didn't really learn any new shooting skills. And that's okay, because that's not what the class is for me. It opened up my eyes to a whole new world of things that you have to deal with when you're carrying a gun around children, your children, other people's children, that sort of stuff. I think it's an excellent class for anyone who has kids and carries a gun, and I honestly think it's an excellent class for anyone who doesn't have kids and carries a gun, because so many of the lessons learned in the class are applicable to anyone who carries a gun outside the home, regardless of whether or not you happen to have children present. I do need to do a bit of a full disclosure here also. John Johnston and Melody Lauer, the teachers of the class, are 2 personal friends, and anytime that I recommend somebody who is a friend of mine, I'll make sure to let you guys know. However, the class is excellent, and I strongly recommend that you take it. Number 3 is also a special interest class. It's Extreme Close Quarter Concepts by Craig Douglas, also known as Southnark. It's done through his ShivWorks group. He's the guy who hosts it and teaches it, and it is extremely valuable. While I think we can all agree that the idea of getting into an entangled gunfight, and what we mean by entangled gunfight is where you have to solve a shooting problem while you're grappling with another human being, that's a rare situation for the armed citizen, and we can all agree with that. However, ECQC isn't a class where you're going to learn anything new, again, about like shooting fast or shooting well. But what it shows you is where you have holes in your self-defense skill set, whether it's learning how to manage unknown contacts, which is literally dealing with strangers on the street, or grappling, which is a huge hole in my skill set, or close quarters shooting, you'll find out by taking ECQC, and you will learn so much valuable information. I actually believe that ECQC is a class that people should take every year because it gives you benchmarks for how good you're getting with things you suck at, for example. But the most important thing that you can take away from ECQC, because it's something that you can do every day, is the first portion of the class, which is called Managing Unknown Contacts. And that's something that we all can do every day. Walking down the street, you see a weird looking homeless dude come towards you. How do you manage the situation? You're being aggressively panhandled in a foreign country. How do you manage this situation? ECQC gives you tools and skills and knowledge that you can use, that you can apply in these situations, so that hopefully you can prevent those situations from becoming entangled gunfights. That's the big takeaway for me from ECQC, is that if I can use all of these pre-fight management skills to avoid the fight entirely, I win. I win 100% of fights that never happen. So I strongly, more than any other class on this list, I recommend that you take an ECQC class from Craig Douglas. The next two classes that we're going to talk about, number 2 and number 1. And again, don't get wrapped up in the number order here, guys. If they made it on this list, it's because I strongly recommend them, and I stand by their product, and I stand by what they're teaching. Number 2, I'm going to recommend my friend Scott Jedlinski of Modern Samurai Project. If you want to go learn some stuff about how to shoot a gun with a red dot sight on it, Scott is the man. Yes, there are plenty of other instructors teaching red dot specific courses, and I want to put this out there so you guys understand. I haven't trained with those guys. I've trained with Scott. Scott's phenomenal. His course is phenomenal, and I strongly recommend it. It allowed me to achieve a breakthrough in my own management process with a red dot sighted gun that I previously hadn't been able to get to. And that was great. That was a really great opportunity for me to find that next level when I'm dealing with a gun with a red dot sight on it. Again, I cannot recommend that course strongly enough. And one of the great things about Scott is that he's very upfront with his teaching and where he got his ideas from and where and how he's adapted stuff. He's very honest, and he'll say, I got this from so-and-so, and I got this from so-and-so. He doesn't pretend that he has new kung fu that he's invented that's super magic, and I really respect that in an instructor. So number 2, Scott Jedlinski, Modern Samurai Project. And that leads us to number 1 on the list. And as you might imagine, number 1 on my list is Ernest Langdon, who runs the Fast Coin drill as well. Now, Ernest, again, is a friend, and he's somebody that I would send anyone to for training, regardless of their skill level. He is an extremely competent instructor. He has been doing this for a very long time. I'm not saying you're old, Ernest, but you've been doing this for a very long time at a very high level, and that's good. He has an ability to diagnose things that many people couldn't even see, and that's amazing, and it's phenomenal. And the other neat thing about Ernest's class, and this applies to Scott's class as well, is that the skills that you're learning in the class can be applied to competition marksmanship or tactical marksmanship or any sort of problem that you might need to solve with a handgun. Again, Ernest is a great instructor, and he's a friend of mine, and I cannot recommend his class highly enough. I've taken his basic handgun course twice. The second time I took it, I finally won my Fast Coin and achieved a shooting goal that I've been aspiring to for a very long time. But the really important thing, the reason why I recommend Ernest's class so highly is, again, that diagnostic ability. Ernest can look at you doing something with a handgun, and within seconds of you doing it, he'll know what you did and be able to tell you why you were missing or why your shots were all jacked up and that sort of stuff. And that's a rare skill, and it's an excellent skill to have. So that brings us to the end of our list. Insights Training Center, Craig Douglas, Modern Samurai Project, Ernest Langdon, and Citizens Defense Research are all the 5 names or schools that we have on the list. That's not to say there aren't a ton of great instructors out there. I wanted to confine this list to people that I've personally trained with, classes that I've personally taken, not because I don't believe in other people's material, but because if I'm going to recommend something to you, if I'm going to recommend that you spend your hard-earned money on something, I want to say that I've been there. And I want you to know that I've been there, and in many cases spent my hard-earned money on it as well, and I've learned and come out smarter, better, faster, or more accurate. There's plenty of other instructors that I would recommend based on their reputation. Guys like JJ Rakaza come to mind. Obviously, Steve Fisher comes to mind, and many, many other quality, reputable instructors out there. But these 5 guys, I've been to their classes. I'm Caleb Giddings. Thanks for watching. Until next time, run your gun, not your mouth.